Hey guys, this is Fate, and I'm going to make a little disclosure. So, this is a video not bashing on DE. This is not me bashing on the game itself. This is just a opinion piece along with me talking about something that bothers me as a fellow Warframe player about what's in the game that bothers me the most. Number 11, new player experience. So far, you've probably seen the starter Warframes. It's Excalibur, Volt, and also Mag. Now, Excalibur and Volt actually makes sense when it comes to this sort of stuff, but when it comes to Mag is very mod intensive, and it's less about skill and more towards what mods you need to keep yourself alive. Yes, she has good AoE, but you really need range to actually do very good with her abilities, and none of her abilities are very damage dealing. And since she's a caster Warframe, she has very low HP and shield, and you know, when you start playing the game, and you will die so many times. It's the same deal when Loki was one of the players that actually was a star Warframe, and it was always the same deal. Loki is a very powerful Warframe if you have the mods for it. So it gets to the point that it's either Excalibur or Volt, because at least with Volt, you can actually stun the enemies even if they are far away with his first ability, and you don't even need range for that. Of course you can add range for it to reach. It still doesn't, complement, like it doesn't, like for Mag, it doesn't really complement that well. And another thing is the lack of tutorial that the new players get doesn't exactly explain much except for how you move, how you attack, and everything. It doesn't even tell you how to mod, what mods work, etc. like that. Especially the direction that the tutorial gives, along with the direction in general that the game has. It's not explained so well enough, and it gets to the point that they need a Warframe YouTuber to tell them the ropes, or they go to another a content creator for help because they know nothing about what's going on. And as much as it is good for content creators to have this sort of mechanic to show to new players, it gets a little annoying because it's not an option. It's actually mandatory for them to either just give up and look up a Warframe tutorial on YouTube, or they just try to learn it themselves and get frustrated, and it just becomes a little bit of it gets too stressful for them. And I do see that a lot when some new player asks me a lot of questions, and it's really hard for new players, and I do feel for them really badly. Number 10, skins and lore. So far we've been having a bunch of Warframes that have been having a bit of a weird twist to them, which sort of contradicts the lore a lot, really. Like for instance, Limbo looking like a stage magician, we have Hydroid that looks like a pirate, we have a Naros that looks like literally an actual mummy, which kind of makes no sense when it comes to the actual Warframe themselves. Because when you hear Warframe, you hear these Warframes to do massive, they're Warframes. They're there to be edgy. They're supposed to be a character that has a theme. Their powers are their theme, while the actual Warframe themselves, the character, is just, it's a Warframe. And when you start seeing these Warframes that literally look like some sort of character from a movie or whatever, it really doesn't fit well with the actual theme of Warframe. In this sense, it would actually make more sense as a premium or deluxe skin, or a 10th-gen skin, because if you think about it, those skins shouldn't even really be pertained into the lore in general, because they're just premium skins. They're just skins that you get and pay for and stuff, and wear. That shouldn't even be lore based anyways. It's like the proto armor skin or the Nyx skin. They're not lore based. They're just there because, well, it's just a skin for us to wear and be like, I look cool. And when we have Warframes that look like Limbo or Naros, it just makes no sense to me. It just seems weird. Number 9, copy-paste mission types. So far, we've been having the same mission types for years now. There have been some new ones, but not a whole lot to actually, talk about. And right now, the mission types that we have right now are just very repetitive, especially since they've been copied and pasted in every planet, and especially in the void, that you just start feeling that it's so repetitive. It just seems very bland, and it just becomes very meh. Number 8, abandoned content. This one's a bit of a big one because there's a lot of content that's been very abandoned, and these are about Arc Ring, raids, moon missions, Rathum, and especially the AI. Now, Arc Ring was made and really was updated maybe a few times, and right now, literally Arc Ring, which actually pertains in the copy-paste mission types, is just literally another game type that is literally the same, except you're in an Arc Ring, and there's really nothing interesting about the Arc Ring except you're in space. And to be honest, having to completely go back into another new game type, and it's actually forced upon you in the submersible missions, and it just doesn't work well. And since it's still buggy as all hell, it just becomes very frustrating over time. And then we have the raids, which also have the same problem with it being buggy. It's just the rewards aren't really that great. Yes, there are some rewards that are very good that actually help with basically going through certain mission types, but then when you find out, you can actually use it to cheese a lot of the missions, and it just becomes really annoying. And another thing with the moon missions, they're basically another map with the same mission types, but with the very broken sentience that appear, which, to be honest, is cool to have, like, these bosses that appear in, like, certain time period, because, at least with that, it keeps us from just doing the same thing over and over and be like, oh crap, there's someone coming after me. But then you start realizing that it's just another enemy that becomes very immune to one of your your damage, and it just becomes another bullet sponge, and their damage becomes ridiculous and all that stuff. And then we have the Rathum, which is all hell broken, and there's a lot of problems with the Rathum where you can literally be one-shotted and it just becomes unfair, especially since new players have to do the Rathum in order for them to continue on to the next planet, which that becomes a very, very stressful time for new players, and it's already stressful enough for us veterans and, players that play once in a while. And as for the AI is just broken. Gabryo AI is already broken to all hell. They don't really do exactly what they're supposed to do. And then we have the enemy AI, which basically snaps to you almost instantaneous when you have, like, maybe just a little arm coming out of the corner, and it gets really, really annoying. And I like this person that said in the forums that we should have them as, like, the stormtroopers from Star Wars, where because right now, the more enemies that appear with this aimbotting thing, it gets super annoying. And as long as they have numbers between, having a bunch of enemies coming at us, having this aimbot theme doesn't work well. As long as they aim pretty shitty, but at least with this AI where they have shitty aim, but they come in numbers, and it makes sense. That's probably why everyone also talks shit about the bombards at this point. Number 7, Mastery Rank. Right now, Mastery Rank is in a terrible place, since at this point, there's a lot of weapons that have certain Mastery Rank requirements that really make no sense. Like, there's a gun that is really crappy that should really be like a Master Rank 1, and it's like Master Rank 8. Like, for instance, the Stradivar. And then another problem is that once you reach Master Rank 12, there's really no reason to actually rank rank up after Mastery Rank 12. Because, yeah, you can have mod points at that rank. You can have more trading abilities with the Mastery Rank. But if you think about it, at the end of the day, there's really not much to it towards Mastery Rank, and there's nothing exactly special about Mastery Rank except a badge with a title on it and what Mastery Rank level you are. There's really nothing special about it, and it kind of bothers me because I always expected to where the more you rank up your mastery, the more like you get a reward or you get something in return of doing this mastery instead of congratulations, you're this mastery rank. And I just don't see no reason for a mastery rank right now. They've talked about in the past that they're going to do something very big with mastery rank, but so far, there's nothing. Number 6, Damage 2.0 and mod necessities. So far, I've talked about it in the past on a forum post and even on stream and stuff where negative damage on anything actually becomes a negative in using a certain weapon or a certain element type. Like for instance, impact is probably the crappiest, damage type because there's so many negatives against it, when in reality we shouldn't even have any negatives on our damage. We should actually have zero and positives. If you have anything negative, that weapon will become useless. And it becomes so useless that it gets to the point that we need this certain weapon, we need these certain elements, we need this certain damage, and it becomes so annoying because I'd rather use a Boar Prime and just, mow down these enemies, even though like maybe the damage will fall off, but at least it won't fall off to the point where it becomes useless in like maybe 10 minutes in a survival. It really makes no sense. And it sucks because there's so many weapons in this game that I want to use, and I can't because in order for me to use it, I have to mod it in a certain way that it isn't useless, and even at the end of the day, slash is the dominant weapon type, damage type, and it gets to the point that that's just power creep, and modding becomes a necessity on how much damage you put, how much element damage you put. It just gets so annoying, and if you look at every weapon build in my on my build or maybe even other builds, it's literally the copy paste of the same build over and over, and it gets to the point that having a unique build is a rarity. It's very rare, and it's not fun if you think about it. And I'd rather mod it to where I can have a blast damage, so I can have a Boar Prime and have with blast damage and just mow down enemies and then do at least a decent amount of damage, not a whole lot of damage, but a decent amount of damage with this AoE. But then we don't have that. And then there's also this problem where we have recoil and accuracy as a stat. I see no reason to have this recoil and accuracy stat in this game. We already have bullet sponges. There's no reason to have both. I'd rather take away accuracy and leave recoil in, so then it pertains on how well or how skilled the player is using the weapon. It just makes no sense to have accuracy decrease, which becomes just, I don't see a reason for it. Because at the end of the day, accuracy is useless. Recoil should be the biggest, negative on a weapon. Accuracy should always be the player's skill. It should never be recoil. And it always bothered me about it. And I'd rather have it to where heavy caliber should have negative, more recoil when you have this mod. Because then it actually makes sense. And so then you either adapt with the recoil and increase your own accuracy with this weapon, or you can put a mod to reduce the recoil, so then you don't have to deal with the problem with the recoil, and you don't have to adapt with the recoil at all. So then there's more of a balance at that point. So I just don't understand why this accuracy and recoil is a thing anymore. Number 5, Nerf Mentality and Ninja Nerfs. So far, it is a necessity for a developer to nerf or buff or do anything of a sort towards the game because, you're supposed to balance the game so everyone can have fun. Now, the nerfs that we get in Warframe would make sense if the enemy scaling was fixed. So far, a lot of the nerfs that we get really numb the Warframes and weapons, just nullifies them to the point that there's no reason to use them, and it becomes frustrating because enemy scaling, which is number 4 on the list, enemy scaling, and it's insane because it also pertains in damage 2.0 as well. The more you nerf, the more it becomes a necessity to use another Warframe or another gun. And with enemy scaling, it also just does not complement well with the nerfs. Especially since there's armor scaling and level skipping. And what I mean by that is that with armor, armor scales along with the level, which should never be a thing. It's like my friend Headshot said, armor should be exactly fixed to a certain number. Like for instance, every node that has a certain level point, or every tier in the void has a fixed number of armor. And as for, health and damage and shields and stuff, that can be increased through enemy scaling as well. But with this whole level skipping where their health and shield and stuff gets outrageous, it's crazy because it goes from level 10 to level 11, you start seeing this huge gap in health, and you're just like, what the hell's going on? And it's insane. I just can't understand it. So number 5, Ninja Nerf Mentality and Ninja Nerfs, and number 4, enemy scaling. Those two do not complement well with each other until enemy scaling in general gets fixed. It just does not, it will not work. Number 3, endgame lack of real content. So far, our endgame was supposed to be the sortie, and right now there is really nothing to go back to when it comes to the sortie, because there are stuff in the sortie that drops that we basically already have, or it's just old and there's no reason to go back to. There's nothing new into the sorties, and there's nothing to make us go through the terrible enemy scaling and everything to get something that we already have, or it's something that we don't really need. And as long as this is a thing, and in general there is no endgame anyways, there's no reason to go back to Warframe except go on Warframe, see what's new, try it out, then leave right after, which can literally last for an hour or two. And this is mostly towards the veterans and stuff, so unfortunately that's literally how it is when you're a veteran. I can't speak for every veteran, of course. It's just the veteran, me and a bunch of others who've also, had dealt with this. We really need an endgame, or at least the sortie to be changed where the rewards are worth getting. Number 2, random number generator RNG. So far, I don't mind RNG. It's been something that's actually helped a lot in the Warframe and stuff. Same with any other game. RNG is fine. The drop tables, they're fine. Low drop tables is fine. But the thing is, there's so much clutter in RNG that it's insane. And what I mean by that is that a single enemy can literally have hundreds and hundreds of items in this one enemy, and the RNG is bad, and it just becomes to the point where you're gonna be killing this one enemy over and over and over and over just to have all these mods that you don't need. Same with band-aid mods you don't need. It gets to the point that you're just like, what the hell is going on? Why does this one enemy have hundreds upon hundreds of these different mods and not the mod that I want? Usually when I see RNG, I see an enemy that has materials and certain maybe 20 to maybe 30 items that drop that are not necessary, that not necessary, but something that you don't want, but at least it makes it to where you have a better chance for that item to drop. But because this RNG is so bad, because of the clutter of items in the end mission results, the enemies and stuff, it's so insane. I don't know why it's like that. And I just wish that maybe we can separate all this clutter to like different nodes, so then if you want a specific mod or something, you have to go to a specific different nodes, same enemy but different areas, so then the items are more separated and there's more reason to go to different nodes for that. And the number one thing that bothers me the most in Warframe, something that should have been in this game years ago, is cup holders. Why the fuck do we not have cup holders? I swear to God, there's so many games that do not have cup holders. I'll have a fucking cup holder that floats the damn drinks if we have to. I don't fucking care. We need a goddamn cup holder for our fucking tenno. God damn it.